and reserve products for pickup. Head to your local TGS Express checkout and you'll be in and out in minutes. Plus, you can use code DNVR20 for 20% off your entire purchase. I'm Nathan Rudolph. He's AJ Haefele. We are coming at you live after the Avs straight up beat down the Nashville Predators. Let's begin the show by starting it, as you heard with Purd says. AJ, was that not just awesome?
Yeah, I stopped before I left last night. As I was walking out of the arena, I stopped and looked at the scoreboard. 9-4.
9-4.
And like, what was it? I think 45-24 in shots on goal.
The Avs had 45 shots on goal, and they shot 20% on the night.
It's not bad.
That speaks for itself, I think. Yeah. We'll get into all of the absurdness of the second period, but let's start with the positive that I was looking for more out of this game, in that the Avs started the game on time and they looked ready to play.
Yeah, I mean, first shift of the game, they came out flying, and they got out there and they immediately dictated pace and got part of a change, and then they scored 49 seconds into the game.
Yeah, Cale Makar getting on the board, who now he leads the Calder points race by like 5 points, I think.
4 points, 15-11.
Is it 15-11?
Yeah,
okay.
the dude from Toronto that came out of nowhere and Quinn Hughes are both at 11.
Yeah, Olofsson hasn't scored in like 5 games or something now, so
Golofsson is no more.
That dream is dead, and yeah, Quinn Hughes is a bum compared to Cale Makar as far as I'm concerned.
Scrub life.
The defense, I thought, looked much better throughout the game, particularly on the breakout. Granted, Nashville did not forecheck heavily at all. How much of that is an adjustment from the Avs D, and how much is that just a better matchup stylistically? It's
always tough to know where one team's success begins and another team's shortcomings kind of
they
meet
merge
up
together.
Yeah, it's hard to know which one is contributing more. But we know that Colorado definitely handled the puck better last night. They had a more controlled breakout. They weren't throwing pucks in each other's feet as often. They weren't setting each other up for failure by, lobbing the grenades at each other that they had been the last couple of games, where, sure, you got a breakout pass to a teammate, but that guy immediately receives that pass, and it was either poorly placed, or it was in a situation where he was not able to do anything with it. And it's like, okay, great, you got the puck there, but there's nothing being accomplished with this.
Yeah.
No offense is getting generated. If you're lucky, all that's happening is that he's making sure that icing doesn't happen, and then you guys are going and chasing the puck and trying to get it back. And that's not productive. There's a time and a place for that. And it's the third period of a game in which you go in leading 8-3, and you're all about that.
Yeah,
that's exactly how you want to play for an entire period.
5-goal lead is a little bit of a different scenario.
That's exactly how you wanted to play in that third period. But when you're in a competitive phase of the game, that's not what you're after.
Yeah,
it's not how you want to play. And they were much more productive in playing as a cohesive offensive unit last night. Generating scoring chances, and they dominated the first period and walked out of there up 2-1,
18-6 or something. I think shots.
Right, and it wasn't like heavily power play tilted. It was like the Dallas game but reverse, except they gave Dallas 4 power plays,
right,
and the Avs didn't have that. And they just dominated at even strength, first and second period. I think they had I think it was 22-6 in scoring chances at 5v5.
Yeah, that was absurd
between the first 2 periods, and high danger chances was 10-1 at 5v5.
Yeah,
and so that's crazy. Like that is you have absolutely annihilated the opposing team, and for that game to have been 2-2 at one point was a crime against humanity.
3-2 Nashville.
Yeah, well, and that was less so, but it was the second goal that they gave up where it was like,
here we go again.
And I looked at Evan and I was like, it meant nothing.
Yeah.
I was like, it was all for nothing. They had a great first period, all the confidence and all of that. Now they're sitting at 2-2. They have no lead. They have no momentum. what's done is already done, and it hasn't gotten them the lead that they needed in order to feel good about themselves. And then they gave up the lead, and then they were trailing. And we talked on yesterday's pod. I said they need to get into the second period and not be down.
Yep.
And
they were 5 minutes into the second.
They were, and then the next shift happened.
Yeah, thankfully Matt Duchene scored that goal, so the Avs weren't having any of that.
There was a lot of talk last night, but it sure did look like there were some guys that just said, this is not happening. We're not sitting through this. Like, a losing streak is one thing. Losing in Dallas to the Stars is one thing. This is not taking place tonight in our building.
Unacceptable.
No, he did not just celebrate like that in this building. 5 minutes into the second period, like, it felt like the entire team just was like, we're not doing this.
This ain't it, Chief.
Yeah, and who did they put out on there? They put out McKinnon on the ice immediately.
Yep,
and he was
Nathan McKinnon.
Unbelievable last night. And I remember I went to morning skate and I was watching him fly around and I was like, boy, he looks like he is on a different level right now.
Nathan McKinnon turned a hockey game into a basketball blowout game where he just didn't have to play the third period.
Straight up. It was load management.
Yeah.
That's all it was. He was like, nah, we're good.
I got my 4 points. It's fine.
Yeah. He got his, man. I mean, he was dominant last night, just destroyed. And that's even with some defensive imperfections.
Yeah, look, the game was far from perfect, despite the 8 minutes of glory.
Right.
But
after the Duchene goal, you felt awful.
Yeah.
And then, if you just started watching the game from the shift after the Duchene goal,
right,
the Avs were the best team in the world.
It was, they had, I think it was 3 goals in a minute 31.
Yeah.
4 goals in 2 minutes and 21 seconds. And then I forget the exact number, but it was 5 goals in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They were scoring a goal a minute.
Yeah. And then they finished with 6 and 8.
Yeah, 6 and exactly 8. And it's like, I cannot remember a time I've ever seen that happen in any hockey game ever.
I mean, there are some insane records about, like, fastest 3 goals scored in, like, 17 seconds or
3
something.
goals, but 6?
Right, but 6 goals in 8 minutes is crazy. I mean, like, you're getting lit up.
That doesn't even happen in, like, junior games.
Dude, and it didn't even – they made the goalie change, and UC Saros comes in.
0 difference.
First shot he gives, the first shot against him goes in, and you're just like, they're not done. They've got this is a bloodletting.
Yeah.
Like, this is 2 goals in 3 games. This is all that pent up frustration from the last week. This is they were like, nope.
They shook the beer can and
they were like, oh, UC Saros is great. Let's see if we can run him too. Let's see if we can get them to put Pecorine back in. So, I mean, they just dismantled them, dude. It was nasty.
Yeah, I mean, really, truly something that I believe we will not see again for a very, very long time.
Well, and we're standing down in the tunnel, and the crowd is chanting, "We want 10."
Yeah.
And I couldn't make it out. I could hear "We want," and then I didn't know. And it was a totally spontaneous chant. It wasn't like they put it up on the board. And we're like, we want 10. Like, the crowd was just like, we want 10. It was seriously, it was like a Roman gladiator crowd where they wanted blood.
More
man.
blood, yeah.
Like, it was like, no, they announced Duchene scored the goal, and it was like, boo, boo, boo. And then when he took that penalty late in the third that led to the Donskoy hat trick, like, the place is just like filled up with them booing him, and it was like, this game is decided. Matt Duchene takes a needless penalty, and the crowd is still just like, let it all out. Just let it out.
Joe Sakic stands up and gives the thumbs down.
Like, straight up did the Commodus, and it was, dude, it was crazy. It was, seriously, it was so cold-blooded last night. Like, it was everything that a team in a funk and feeling bad about itself needed on one night.
Straight up. If you're looking for a way to forget about a 5-game losing streak, 9 goals in a game will do it real fast.
Well, and against the team that was right ahead of you in the division, and suddenly you're like, oh no, the Avs have gone from they were up in the division and they were up several points on all these teams, and now they've slid all the way back. And now you wake up today and you're like, all right, well, they're tied with Nashville for second.
Yeah. Not so bad after all, is
Yeah,
it?
you're like, maybe I don't hate looking at the standings right now.
All right, well, 9 goals, definitely something we can drink to as we both have our pre-noon beers here on the live show. But, hey, Breckenridge Brewery earned this one. They are the official beer of DNVR, and when you have a beer named after the Avalanche and the Avs score 9 goals, well, you got to drink it. That's just the rules. But they've also partnered up with Never Summer to host opening day for the ski and snowboard season. It's an event going down tomorrow night at Punch Bowl Social from 6 to 11 p.m. It's basically just going to be an awesome party celebrating. You can now go up to the mountains and get on the slopes. They will be having a bunch of live events, including the Gin Doctors up on stage playing a bunch of sweet music. They'll have karaoke, and they'll be giving away some awesome stuff, including an Artist Series snowboard, epic passes for the season, and even a bunch of other free ski and snowboard gear from 720 Board Shop. So highly recommend getting out there if you can. Again, that's at Punch Bowl Social from 6 to 11 p.m. Saturday, November 9th, which is tomorrow. Second segment of the DNVR Avalanche Podcast, still presented by The Green Solution. Is Matt Calvert the answer to the top line?
Matt Calvert is what Dennis the Menace turned into, all grown up.
I think
he is the hockey player version of that little monster running around.
He might even work harder than Dennis the Menace to cause trouble.
Honestly, maybe. There was one shift last night, and it was right before he scored, where he tipped a puck in the neutral zone. Just tipped it, like didn't stop it or anything. It was just he got in the way of it, disrupted their flow. And then they tried to pass it back to their defenseman to reset, and he kicked the puck. And it was just like everywhere that he was right in the middle of what they were trying to do.
Yep.
And he was all over the place last night. And we know the limitations of Calvert. We know that it's not a super high skill game, and that the finishing ability, all these different things keep him from being a tip top NHLer.
Right.
But that dude is maximum annoyance.
Hard to argue. Yeah.
He's fast and he works so hard, and he just gets the absolute most out of what he has to offer. And he creates so much havoc for the opposing team. Of all the guys on the Avs that I don't think I would want to take a shift against, that's a guy where I just see him get on the ice and I'm like, oh God.
Is that kind of what the top line was missing though? Once Landeskog went out, someone to do a bit of that hard work, dig the pucks, because Donskoy was in that role for a time, and clearly there were some limitations there.
Yeah, they had Nieto do the same thing, and Nieto's a very similar player.
Right.
I just think everything went really well last night.
Hard to argue that too, yeah.
Like if you put Matt Calvert next to Nathan McKinnon over the course of 15, 20 games, how many times do they look like they did last night? It'll be hard to replicate.
Less than one, probably.
Yeah, it'll be hard to replicate that kind of success.
Yeah.
Even getting halfway there is going to be a work in progress. But, that when something works, when you're jumbling everything up like the way that the Avs have the last few games.
You find something.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing it because you're hoping to find something. All right, they found a couple of somethings last night. Now run it back. Just try it again.
See how consistent it can be.
And see, okay, if everything worked last night and then in the next game half of those things still are working, you're still feeling pretty good. Okay, well, and then you just keep whittling it. Okay, now it's been 4 games.
This is what's still working.
These are the things that are still working, and then we'll continue to tweak all the others until we can continue, until we find a little bit of consistency somewhere in the lineup. And then hopefully Mikko Rantanen comes back.
Let's talk about some of those other things that worked.
Okay.
Specifically, some of the new ones. Tynan picked up an assist. I mean, I know it was the cheapest assist ever.
I was going to say.
It's one more assist than Jason Megna had.
It's a feel-good assist.
It is.
On the ninth goal.
He helped Donskoy get a hat trick, technically.
Yeah, very technically. Donskoy helped Donskoy get a hat trick.
Yeah, he did that by himself, absolutely. But
that they gave assists was just like the NHL being
they did seem
we cool.
A little, or Bednar at least, seemed a little more open to trying Tynan in situations, unlike Megna, who was really just 5-on-5 strictly.
Difference in situation than game situation, though. He
got a little bit in non-garbage time too.
Right, but that's my point though, is that he was not on the ice in any of the 45 seconds in which they were trailing.
Yeah,
he didn't play. He didn't play any after they'd made it 2-2. He was on the ice when they were leading, and that was a situation. Megna never got that experience.
The Avs really
he doesn't know what it's like to be an Av who's leading a game.
Unfortunately,
true.
So,
that was a little bit different where, Tynan got the benefit of the team playing much better.
Yeah.
And, I liked him. I thought he looked fine. I thought that he is who he is. He's a dynamic skater. He's a smaller guy. He's got good vision, good passing ability. He can facilitate for the guys around him. He's not going to score a whole lot, but there's not really a comparison just because the situations that they got put into. Tynan had every advantage imaginable.
Yeah,
and then gets the freebie assist and. Hey, he's got an NHL point, and nobody will ever be able to take that away from him, even if Donskoy kept the puck.
Hat trick versus first point,
right.
Definitely. I saw you tweeted out, cut it in half, but
which I was kidding, and people were like, "If you
should cut it in half."
Well, if you go and you look at the responses to that, they're like, "Donskoy's the veteran; he'll cut it," and I was like, "Yeah."
Well,
it's okay, guys.
I mean, let's be real. Tynan was the red herring here anyway. The guy I really want to talk about.
Is that a joke about his hair?
No, but it just worked out quite well.
He looks like JT Compher's doppelganger.
If JT was about 20 pounds lighter and a couple inches shorter.
Like when they were next to each other in the locker room last night, I was like, holy smokes.
Long lost brothers or something.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, but the guy that I really wanted to talk about and someone I believe has a chance to have a longer-lasting impact on the Avs is Vlad Kamenev. First of all,
that kid's a player.
Did he make that pass to Burakovsky on purpose?
100%.
Off the glass.
100%.
Flipping it out to the neutral zone to create a 2-on-1?
100%. And because he waited for it.
Is he a top 5 passer on the Avs right now?
You can see it. You watch it. If you go back and you watch it, he's waiting.
Yeah, he takes
gets
his
that
time.
puck and he's like, "Oh, look at that!" And he goes and he gets it done. It was 100% on purpose. That was not just like I'm just gonna chip this and hey, look, my teammates made something awesome out of this. No, that happened on purpose.
I mean, seriously, he's one of the best passers on the Avs. Then,
well, and
this is after the pass to Compher the other night too.
Well, and I have not caught as many of the practices and morning skates as necessary as. My life has been hectic over the last month. Yeah. But even in the ones that I have seen, I've consistently seen this guy, especially during special teams practice. He's the only guy on the second unit. Like we talked about this yesterday on the pod. He's the only guy on the second unit with the ability to make that Royal Road pass. And he's been able to do it consistently. It's just that Compher's on the other side, and that's not what he does. He's a good shooter in the NHL, but he's not like a wind it up and fire a one-timer.
He's more on the rush type.
Yeah. Right. He's a transition, pick a spot, and, go bar down on a guy and not just, I'm just going to blast one past a goaltender.
Yep.
But Kamenev's passing ability and his vision are definitely high-end. And we saw it. I mean, this was a guy that had, 30-some-odd assists in the AHL the last time he was healthy. He got into one game for the Rampage back in the day, and he had multiple assists.
Yep.
And like this is what he does, is he facilitates offense. He's got a decent shot, as we saw last night when he tattooed the post off a feed from Nichushkin, but who's never scoring again.
No, yeah, that's...
But, I mean, even getting an assist at this point would feel like he's climbed a large mountain. But it's, with Kamenev, like it's all of the different things that made him attractive as a prospect when they went and got him. We've just had to wait 2 years for this. And we saw pieces of it last year.
And once he got into a rhythm a little bit. Yeah,
I mean, he had I think 5 points in 23 games.
Yep.
And, one of those was a multi-point game and a blowout over L.A. But now he's got points in back-to-back games. And, I would be surprised if, like, a point streak started here where he goes 4 or 5 games in a row. But it's possible. And what I really liked last night was that he was physically engaged.
That was his big problem in preseason, especially.
He took a big hit on the shoulder and then got up and was totally fine.
Yep.
And it seemed to energize him a little bit. And maybe he just needed that. Maybe he just needed to take that hit. We hear football players talk about it all the time. Quarterbacks,
You're not healthy until you know it's healthy. Yeah.
Quarterbacks and running backs, they don't take that first hit on the knee that was surgically repaired. There's always a little bit of lack of trust there. You always kind of instinctively guard it a little bit.
Yep.
And we might have seen some of that with Kamenev, because once he took that hit behind his own net last night, it just seemed to knock some of the cobwebs loose, and he was out to get guys after that. The big hit that he had on Arvidsson behind their net where, it might have been a little bit late, but he's protecting his guys. He's doing his thing. And, he lays him out. And it's like that, just personality-wise, has not been him. And he was feeling it a little bit after the game. He was walking around and talking with some of the guys, and you could tell that there was a different level of confidence there. And it was not just I got to be part of a fun team win. It was like, I'm playing pretty well. I'm feeling myself right now.
A lot of positives to take out of this for him. It's obviously never a fan of injuries, but for someone like Kamenev, that gives him an opportunity to play legitimate minutes and get opportunities he otherwise wouldn't. And so far, it's going to be real hard to take him out of this lineup when people get healthy.
The big problem is the center wing conversation.
Right, exactly.
And sorry, but I would just move Belmar to the wing.
We already know Belmar can play left wing, right? So
and it's not like he's been so good on faceoffs. That's one of the areas they brought.
Yeah,
he's been bad at it, and it's just like, look, if a guy's going to be bad at it, then just have him do that, or just have him go in and take the faceoff, and then we've seen that with Landeskog for years now. He takes the faceoff and then moves.
Right. It's the Avs have never really shied away from doing weird things in the face-off circle and just resetting their setup afterward.
It's just, I mean, he's already outscored Nichushkin on the season.
Yep.
He's already got more points production, and like I don't want it to seem like I'm going out of my way to bag on the guy. Nichushkin is involved in at least one scoring chance a game, sometimes two.
Kamenev just clearly has more talent in the bag.
Right. He's just got a clean player right now, and that's he's finding ways to contribute and get it done despite the role changing, and Nichushkin is not. I mean, he's still sitting on 1 point on the season, I believe. So,
yeah.
And look, 85 straight games without a goal. At some point, that stops being a fun stat and starts being like
just depressing.
I mean, like, okay, it's at 85. What do you say when that thing gets to 100?
Right. At what point is it just
like? At what point do we finally have to admit that we were right about this one over the summer, where it was like this was the fear is that he would get into a bunch of games, he wouldn't do a whole lot, And hey, I say wouldn't do a whole lot. There's not a lot negative happening without him out there either.
It's just Sheldon Dries again, right?
Right. Like if you're not getting any point production and nothing bad is happening, like you're getting by.
Yeah.
But like this was an area that should be a strength for this team once they start to get back to healthy. Which, of course, right now when you're missing a quarter of your forward lineup, you're not helping.
It's a player that is perfectly fine in your lineup when you're missing 3 forwards.
Right. Like, he's a good 15th forward.
Yeah.
I don't have any issue with him in the lineup right now as
Right.
a 15th guy. It's like, okay, whatever. But the fact that you're playing Nichushkin and Tynan and, Tynan / Magna /
The other
insert whatever
6 vets
like,
that you have to fill this role.
It's just sort of weird that, with Kamenev at center and Bowers at center, and those are the guys that you would want to call up.
Yep.
Like Bowers is the guy right now. Kaut is hurt, hasn't had a great start to the year. AJ Greer went off and had a total serial killer meltdown in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Where it's like you can't reward that guy for that.
Yeah.
Like he can't go out there and do something incredibly dumb and selfish and then be like, all right, we're going to call you up. Like you just can't reward that behavior. So they're in a weird spot where
none of the prospects have truly earned it. I
Right.
would argue for Bowers, but that's a different podcast.
Well, and I think they're getting there.
Yeah.
Like he showed up,
right.
and I think he's got to build on it now, and we'll see. I totally Shane Bowers will play an NHL game this year.
I believe it for sure. All right. Our second segment's gone a little bit long here, but one guy we haven't mentioned is Andrei Burakovsky. And if he keeps getting 3-point nights, he's going to make a lot of money. And if you want to earn a little bit of money on the side, here's the easiest way you can add a few bucks to your wallet. Denver's newest travel hack is here. Drift shares locally owned cars with incoming travelers at Denver Airport for a better experience than car rental. Skip the chaos to save on time and fees when you book. Or you can share your car to earn and park for free while you travel. Plus, there's no under 25 fee rule, so it's perfect for friends coming into town. Drift is also great if you're going home for break and perfect for extended travel like a semester abroad. Allstate Insurance covers your car every single trip, and Drift cleans it inside and out. That's right, even if your car isn't rented out while you travel, Drift will still clean your car upon arrival. Get all the info on drivedrift.com. That's drivedrift.com. All right, final segment here. Obviously leading with Burakovsky. The assists were nice. I appreciate him getting involved in the offense after a bit of a dry spell. But
And the first assist, I don't even remember what he did.
yeah, right.
It was a total ghost assist where I was like, I don't know. When his name popped up on the board, I was like, okay, sure.
And the second one was, here you go, Donskoy, go get a hat trick.
Yeah, well, and then obviously the goal.
But the goal is exactly what Burakovsky should be doing.
Right.
Every single time, 2-on-1 situation, everyone in the building knows he's the one they want to shoot it. He shoots it, and he still scores it.
Right.
So
just beat a golie.
Right.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.
That's why they went and got you. That's why they gave up 2 picks for you. He's on his way to his 20-goal season we thought that he was capable of.
Right.
And that comes with he had a lull there.
Absolutely. Every player has a lull.
Right.
Alex Ovechkin doesn't score in at least 30 games a year. So
That's insane to think about that guy.
I know. Arguably the greatest goal scorer ever
Yeah.
is going to not score in 30-plus games a year.
Right. And this is, this was a guy, I think he had 9 points in the first 8 games where we were like, whoa, like this will not continue.
Yeah.
You're gonna go through those. Every guy in the league is streaky. There isn't anybody out there that just keeps. The only guys who are capable of that are like the top 5 players in the game, like the elite of the elite of the elite.
2020 Av Taylor Hall, for example.
No,
I mean, he had a 30-something game point streak.
dude, get out of here. I don't want to get into this.
I don't either. I was mostly supposed to be a joke.
Don't with the Taylor Hall stuff. I woke up to Taylor Hall stuff today.
That we seriously on the question show on Wednesday, like 15 questions were all just one of them was just a picture of Taylor Hall's face. There was no question.
Yeah,
Save it for the deadline. We'll deal with it then.
It's not going to be at the deadline. It's already happening now. Like
Someone's going to do it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been digging around, and there's already. I mean, those wheels are already in motion.
Well,
so.
now that you've said that, it's going to really.
And I don't mean the Taylor Hall wheels are in motion.
Just
I mean
things. Are happening.
teams are like, okay, we suck.
Yeah.
We are scouting.
Gotta fix this problem.
Well, we are scouting certain teams to see, if we're willing to move some of these guys that we're taking calls on.
Gotcha.
So that stuff has already started. because some of these teams are out of it already. They're bad.
Ain't no rest for the wicked, I guess.
And, as much as I got yelled at yesterday and told that Detroit won't move any of its young players, that's a bad hockey team.
Yep.
And those young players, as Detroit's best, they'll never do anything. So, they are the team to watch, I think, when you're talking about getting that ball rolling.
Who are we talking here? Like AA?
We can talk about Burakovsky first.
Okay. Well, we won't talk about that at all. We'll save that
because
when it goes down.
Right. And Burakovsky is the kind of guy that makes your life easier where you don't have to go out and feel pressed into going and get that. He's the guy that I think between the two guys coming in that we said, can they be top 6 guys? Jost and Burakovsky.
Yeah.
And the answer with Jost is no.
Pretty hard no.
I mean, I love the process. I love the things that he does well. I consistently feel like there's potential there.
At what point are you Matt Calvert and you just don't quite have enough skill?
Right, but at what point is the lack of production where you're just like, okay, like this guy he's not capable of producing those points.
Yeah.
And it is fine to be a 35-point player in the NHL.
That's really, 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 really good.
Every team needs those guys. Every team they would take 6 of them if they could have them. If you could just guarantee, give me 6 30 to 35-point guys to start a franchise, they would do it. That's what Vegas did. Is that when they started their franchise, they said, we want 6 guys. We are going to raise the floor and lower the ceiling and have all 4 lines just kind of wear you down. And that's where they were successful in year 1, and then they went crazy on the skill. And now they're really, really good, and good for them. But with a guy like Jost, it's all about his draft position. Yeah. It's all about the fact that he was 10th overall, and so was Mikko. And the difference between them is enormous.
We've talked about this many, many times, but Mikko is such an outlier for the 10th overall pick.
Mikko in the history of the 10th pick, which isn't really all that important either.
It's not.
It's just when you go and you look at the Jost draft, there's really only one player that truly stands out as like should have taken that guy instead. And for me, that's McAvoy. But that's it.
Yeah.
And you drop McAvoy under the current iteration of this team, and you're like, you don't really. I'm not gonna say you don't need him, but like he's a little extra.
Everyone loves to have perfect hindsight when it comes to draft day, right?
Well, and like you get a solid forward in Jost. Like you have an NHL player. He's not a bust. If you want to call him a disappointment relative to draft position, that's fair. But you also look at the 2016 draft, and it's full of those guys.
Yeah,
that just was not a. I mean, you go up.
We had this
Alex Nylander. Like.
We had this conversation, Evan and I. We got asked, is Sam Girard a top 10 player from that draft? And right now, the answer is probably.
Right.
And that's a guy who was picked in the second round, middle of the second round.
Right.
So there's a lot of swings and misses in that first round.
Right. And it's, every class is different. And, you can't judge the draft position of one guy from a class against another, especially when you're talking about the 15 draft, which is an all-time great.
Yeah.
And all of this is just to go back to the point that Burakovsky has shown himself to be a top 6-ish player. Jost has not. And that just plays out in the numbers, in the production. You've got to produce. You've got to be able to find your way to points. Did Burakovsky get lucky with kind of a ghost assist on the first one last night? Yeah, totally. But why isn't Jost finding his way to any of those?
Exactly. Good players find points, right? It's just what happens. Cale Makar has 15 points because he has a ton of secondary assists, but he gets those secondary assists. He puts himself in a position to give players a chance to develop a goal.
Look at the secondary assist he had in Dallas.
Yep.
Where he makes the neutral zone play, gets the pass up to Kamenev. Kamenev finds Confer scores. Bam.
Not anything fancy, but
nothing sexy, nothing crazy, nothing. Oh my God, it's not going on a highlight reel. I mean, the shot certainly was, but like the rest of that play is that's just good, solid hockey,
right?
And Jost just does not find his way to those. Even the assist that he got last night almost felt like a gift.
It really did.
So, It was, like Jost is a fine player. He's fine for what he is. This is not a long-term guy. And to be honest with you, this is a guy that you may not even protect in the expansion draft in 2 years at this point.
You're not wrong, especially with that contract Confer has now.
Right. And I mean, like with Donskoy and Confer, they're
each pretty much locked
deals,
up now, right? Yeah.
Right. And now if Burakovsky really does continue this, if Burakovsky continues to be that top 6 guy, continues to prove it, they give him a deal after this, you're protecting Burakovsky, Confer, Donskoy, Kadri, McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog. That's your 7. And Jost is on the outside looking in, and maybe he ends up in Seattle, and
that's
you
just
hate
the way
that,
it goes. Yeah, you're losing someone.
You wish him well, or we've talked to Zadorov could be another good candidate there, but like that's the conversation that you're having though, is that right now you cannot make a cogent argument that Tyson Jost is a top 7 forward for the Avs.
Yeah, I don't think you can either.
He might be 8, he might be 9, but he has not stepped up so far. And like obviously we're 16 games in.
Still very well could.
Right. Like, and we always want to believe that tomorrow, the grass could be greener on the other side, and the sun shines brighter and the guy realizes his potential and blah blah blah. But he's totally in line with his entire career right now. All of it.
Yep. He has enough of a track record now that there's some consistency to this. Yeah. And if this is what he is, like we said, that's fine. That's a perfectly good hockey player.
I don't have any issues with a Tyson Jost who gives you 10 to 15 goals per year and 10 to 15 assists per season.
As a quality 3C.
Right. Like it's a little bit of from this point on, if the offense isn't going to be there, he's got to hone the defensive game, get much better at faceoffs, and start to turn himself into a traditional 3C.
Yep.
You've got to start to find that. Otherwise, Shane Bowers and Vlad Kamin are going to take your job.
Straight up going to take it. All right. Really briefly, a couple of negatives from this game, and then we'll end on a positive. First, my favorite stat ever. The Avs have hit more than one post a game so far this year with 17. Real negatives to actually take here. Don't want to fault him too much. Francouz gives up 4 goals on 22 shots.
4th goal, no defense.
Yeah.
And it was 9-3.
Yeah, obviously.
Or 8-3.
There was a lot of garbage time in this game. He only faced 12 shots in the first 40 minutes, so he never really got into the game either.
Yeah, the Duchesne goal.
Pretty unlucky.
Yeah, where the kind of a weird bounce where it flips over his shoulder, and it's hard to fault him for that when we gave Grubauer kind of a pass on that 2 days ago on a very similar play.
Yep. Second goal was just weak, though.
First goal, I'm trying to remember it.
You would have liked him to track the puck a little bit better. It was a shot from outside from Ellis.
And that's what I was saying. If you're a sub 6 foot goaltender, your puck tracking has to be elite.
Right.
Because you're not going to have just a size advantage where you can not see a puck and just have it hit you.
It's you, yeah.
Right. You've got to track pucks much better when you lack that size.
Yep.
And iffy. Like for me, that's like you got to track it better. A lot of traffic though, but the problem with Francouz that I have is that goal looked eerily similar to the ones that he gave up last year.
Yep.
The Brandon Peary floater in Vegas.
He just never sees it.
The Brad Richardson floater in Arizona. And then that goal last night, like this has now started to become a thing that he gives up, are these long-range goals that aren't, that Ryan Ellis shot was not a rocket. It was not. It was well placed, but it's one that NHL goalies should probably stop. There's traffic there, but he's got to fight through that. It's not an excuse, man. You've got to work through it.
Yep.
And there was not, as far as I could tell, and maybe I just need to see an angle right behind the net, it did not look like there was somebody directly in front of him.
Makar kind of ended up there.
And Makar was like his screener.
Yeah.
But like
there was
also a guy that you should be able to work around.
There's moving parts going on there too.
And then the second goal is unacceptable.
Yeah,
that should never be a goal in the NHL. I had a couple people who were like, "Oh, Forsberg made a nice play," and I'm like, "What do you do?
It really wasn't a nice play.
It wasn't. He didn't do. I mean,
he mishandled the pass and it bounced away from him, so he just slapped it at the net.
Right.
It's like,
and it was not a dangerous shot. It
Yeah.
should not have gone in. And his own reaction. He was like, "I'll take it."
Yeah, right.
And that tied up a game. Knowing how it ended, we're all, you kind of just let it go and you move on. But like, the Avs are lucky that they blew up for a bunch of goals on a night where their goaltending, one of the few nights where their goaltending has kind of let them down.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
I mean, if that's when you're going to have bad goaltending, take it, I guess.
Right. If you're gonna give up 4 goals and your response is gonna be to score 5,
Yeah,
you're fine. You can live with that.
One last negative: Nikita Zadorov, obviously face injury. I expect we'll know more after practice today.
Yeah. We were supposed to get an update today at practice. We'll see how that goes. After the Brian Little stuff the other day, I'm a little freaked out.
Yeah.
Because, Brian Little takes a puck to the face, and you're like, oh, what's going on? And then it turns out it's like, oh, he had 20 to 30 stitches. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of stitches.
Yep.
And then it's like, oh, he has a concussion. And then it's like, wow, man, he really got hit hard. And, oh, now he has a brain bleed. And it's like, okay, this is significantly worse.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping the best for Big Z out there. And, hopefully he's on the ice today with a shield or a bubble or something. And all is well in the world.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We'll end it off with the quality, as I promised. Donskoy's first ever hat trick. The dude already got over half of his career high in goals 16 games into this season.
Good find.
Has, so far, every single one of the Avs pickups, except for maybe Nichushkin, has worked out.
Yeah. I would say they have done what they've more or less been brought in for. I think Kadri is a slight disappointment right now.
I don't think he's a disappointment. I think there's more to give there, but he's producing okay.
It's all right. He really got put in a tough spot, though. Like, of all the guys that are in a tough spot to continue to be who they are,
yeah,
in their careers, like, this is a dude who's looking around at some of the line mates like, oh, this is like earlier in my Toronto career before all my good teammates showed up. Where he's trying to be a 2C with third and fourth line players next to him
until the Avs get healthy again.
Right. Course. And then you go back to Burakovsky and you go back to Donskoy and you're like, oh, now this is
I can work with this. Yeah.
Right. Like, we saw those guys find chemistry. They've won a couple of games together,
Yeah.
Washington, great example. Mm-hmm. Last night, multiple points. So those are all guys that should be playing together when that top line gets healthy. I think Kadri. So I say a slight disappointment, but understanding like that his situation might have been impacted the most by the injuries because he went from, hey, I might get top 6 guys next to me to I am definitely not having the top 6 guys next to me now.
Right. Well, I mean, if there's significantly more to give from Kadri when this team gets healthy, I mean, they're one of the best teams in the league. That's all I have to say about it,
that's before the injury struck. They were. And that's the conversation.
Right. Like, how much of that is for real?
Yeah. That's the conversation that we're having, is that when this team is healthy, it's one of the best in the NHL. They were proving it, man. They were going out there and they were beating teams down.
Yeah. Straight up.
We mentioned it. Last night was the 5th time this year that they've scored 6 goals in a game?
They drop bombs on people. That's what they do.
They played 16 games.
Yeah.
A third of them have seen them score 6 goals.
And they've won all of them so far this year when they score 6.
Right. None of that 7-6 in Vancouver nonsense last year.
All right. Final thoughts?
I mean, that was the perfect game at the perfect time.
All right.
And I think it says, and I continue to say that I'm not worried about this team because their buy-in, their belief in themselves separates this team from teams in years past. I'm not worried about them making the postseason. I'm not worried about any of that. I believe that this team is very talented and that this team is set to have a memorable season of some kind. And it's just a matter of weathering the storm. They've got to continue to do that. Last night was great, but that's one game. You got the 2 points. 2 more points are on the line in 24 hours. You got to go out and do it again.
Yep. All right. So as the Avs try to move into that bracket of being a contender in the NHL.
This is a tax bracket.
It is a tax bracket. He's learning. He's learning my transition.
I've been trying to figure out which read is coming based on which angle that he tries to take in the transition. So
I tried to jump Evan into this on Wednesday with the game changer, and a little rough around the edges.
Yeah,
but
still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, we'll get it there. We'll get it there.
Yeah.
But there is a new alternative for addressing your tax needs here in Denver. Symbio Tax and Administration provides its clients with honest and knowledgeable tax services from a licensed professional. You guys know we're all about taking care of our own, and George over at Symbio Tax is a proud DNVR subscriber and diehard Avs fan. Whether you have a small business, you're looking to rent out a room in your house, or if you just need to get your tax return filed, go to a qualified professional to understand your tax requirements. Don't end up at one of those retail tax chains. Call Symbio Tax today for a free consultation at 720-366-4470 or visit them at symbiotax.com. That's SYMBIO tax.com.
So literally just announced as we were getting to wrap this up is that the Avs and Blue Jackets will participate in the Global Series next year.
Oh.
And we'll have a game in November in Finland.
Finland makes sense.
So, well, I mean, given all the Finnish connections between both the two teams.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, because it's Rantanen and Donskoy now, and then obviously Columbus has Jarmo at the GM spot.
Yeah.
They have to have at least one or two Finnish players, but I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, I would have to look at their roster again, but yeah, it just says later in the fall, Colorado and Columbus will face off in a pair of regular season games at Hartwell Arena in Helsinki, Finland.
All right, well, there you go.
So, Avs and Blue Jackets in the Global Series next year.
So this is why you always stay till the end of the podcast, because you get little details like this right up to the end. But that is going to close the show. A nice little note to end it on. As always, thank you for listening. A special thank you if you watched live, and